so far, if everybody could mute up. And Ray, you're visiting with us today, so at some point I want you to say hello and tell us a little about who you are since you're visiting, okay? All right, let's see what we've got here this morning. We've got Oscar is here. Oscar, you all missed a few moments ago. Oscar did a Phantom of the Opera with a cape and lightning in the background, Toccata and Fugue in D minor. All right, he didn't, but we thought he, well, never mind. Oscar's here today. Ray, say hello to us. Ray, I've Ray rolled it in here. Ray, who are you? Say hello, unmute for a minute and say hi to us.
Hello, hi from New York City.
Okay, nice to have you with us today.
Ray is my friend. I invited him.
Okay, well, nice to have you with us. You're always welcome.
Hi, Ray.
Relax.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining with us this morning. Okay, that's Ray. All right, let's see. We've got Pat, who has fled from New York. Cecilia is here from down the street. Dennis is here, one of our early members. Hal and Linda from Port Orange. John Atkins, my former boss, is now out in California. Judy and Rick are here. Mark Freeman, by the way, who's on the front lines. He's a nurse at Children's Hospital and works in pediatric cardiology. Mary Grimmy, another Port Orange, and we give our love to her son, Donald, who has a huge sinus infection. Maureen Sullivan, whose husband was giving Oscar all kinds of help so we can get ourselves squared away. Melissa Merwin is back from her vacation and smiling and full of life itself. Nick has been with us for a very long time, and he's visiting with us from his apartment, safe and sound. Ray is a friend again of Pat and is visiting with us. Samantha Forrest has been with us forever, one of our founding members, and as has Serge Cruz. So I remind everybody, when you look below and you see participants, that doesn't tell you how many people there are. There are lots of people visiting, so you may have a person who's logged in, but that doesn't tell you how many people are in the room. So just remember, whatever you see as a number there is low for the actual number of people who are participating. Okay, let me get out of this. Let me see this. Okay. We're going to start out with greeting and announcements. We said hello to everybody that's there. As you well know, this is a very interesting time in which we live. So let me give a quick précis of this. The share this morning is not for the faint of heart. So you're going to need good intestinal strength as we get through the first half of it, for what it is worth. Oscar is continuing to work on, and thanks with Maureen's husband's help, we're learning how to work with his electronic organ, the computer, a way to put them all together without the feedback. It's a work in progress. And so each time it gets a bit better. We are all summer long here. I just want to remind everybody, we do not take off for the summer. And I also want to remind you, for those of you who are interested, we are doing the book of Job on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock, and that continues. And so we have some things that continue. And I remind everybody, we have a midweek check-in. And Donald, I see you back there. We give you big, 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 big hugs and blessings from a distance. We see you. All right, then. Let's have a moment for a lighting of the memorial candle. I'm going to ask you to light yours. I can't light mine here because we have a huge fan on and it blows wax all over the place, which I found out by accident last time. So we light the memorial candle. And I want to light this today in memory of all of the doctors and nurses who have passed away while combating the virus. There are a number of doctors and nurses who have not made it. And they need to be an abiding memory and an abiding blessing. For they have given their all, especially when they have not been helped by a larger community. So let's remember them as an abiding and giving blessing. Our introit this morning is to Oscar, if you would. Our call to worship is taken from the Jewish Talmud. I would ask you to read it together. It is a classic ancient writing. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now, love mercy now, walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. And morning prayers, for those who wish, are taken from an ancient Hindu prayer. And if we would read it together for those who wish. Let us look to this day, for it is life, the very breath of life. In its brief course lie all the realities of our existence. The bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is only a dream and tomorrow a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness and every tomorrow a vision of hope. I'll do the reading this morning because it sounds like it was written from the Miami Herald yesterday. It is the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. The epoch of belief, the epoch of incredulity. The season of light was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We're all going direct to heaven. We're all going direct the other way. And I hope you'll enjoy the responsive reading. I will read the first, and if you would read the one in dark, heavy print. The premonition of apocalypse springs eternal in the human breast. Nuts to the educational value of suffering. Who opens the morning newspaper without the wild hope, huge headlines announcing of some great disaster, provided, of course, that it affects other people and not oneself? Everyone, one reason cats and dogs are happier than people is they have no newspapers. That's the world out there. Little green apples and infectious diseases. Nobody wants to be here and nobody wants to leave. I get so lonely sometimes, I could put a box on my head and mail it myself to a stranger. If you're lonely when you are alone, you're in bad company. And a reading, we've got special music, and Margarita, just let it play. Let it play, don't cut it off, let it play.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where will my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved, and he who keeps you will not slumber. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time on and forevermore. Bob Marley brings us some more joy. If you would, Margarita. Grant us, we ask, to speak, to hear, and to learn, so that our fears may be banished, our minds may become enlightened, our faith be increased, our steps directed towards you. Amen. There was a movie just a couple of years ago that I'm sure many of you did not see. I know Mark saw it, and I know Serge saw it because they saw it with me in my living room. And to this day, I'm not sure if we've ever recovered from the movie. Those of you who haven't seen it, I'm not going to recommend it because it may scare the wits out of you. It was called Mad Max Fury Road. And in this scene, they had an anti-hero, I guess you'd call him, named Nux, N-U-X. It's actually a feminist movie in many ways. It really is. And before he changes his allegiances, he commandeers this wreck of a car. And on this dashboard, there's this head bobbling up and down. And you see where he's going. And there's this enormous, by the way, the thing won all kinds of Academy Awards, especially for its pyrotechnics. There is a scene of apocalyptic hell that I could not imagine. I mean, it was that good. And this fireball, this giant fireball, flashing everything else, unbelievable. And he goes off into this thing going, oh, what a day. What a lovely day. And it lived with us forever. Oh, what a day. What a lovely day. Think this is insane. And as I was thinking about that and laughing about it the other day, I thought, hello, have we taken a look at where we are today? Let me share with you some goodies that I have saved up here in the last week and a half. This is not science fiction. This is not somebody writing some dystopian whatever. This is, alas, very real. Are we ready? Let me give you a catalog of the times in which we live now. Not in the medieval time or not in some post-nuclear world. This is right now. We now have a brain-eating single-cell amoeba running loose in the waters, fresh water. You heard that. A single-cell brain-eating amoeba gets into you, your brain is eaten. It thinks it's a sub. The West Nile virus has returned to Miami. Yes, the pesky little mosquitoes are giving us a virus from the Nile. Who knew? 2 weeks ago, it was the hottest week ever in the history of Miami. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at the planet. Just as a kind of fun, I don't know if any of you know where the hottest spot on the planet is, but I bet you it's not where you think it is. Most of you, I bet, would think the hottest spot on the planet is the Sahara. Not even close. The hottest spot on the planet is in southeastern Iran, in this moonscape of a whatever, and the average temperature is 154, according to the satellite. Yes, Judy is going, yeah, imagine having to live there. It beats the Sahara by 20 degrees. I mean, what's the Sahara? Meanwhile, here in Miami, we were enjoying a Sahara-like moment. For the first time in the history of the United States, a majority of people, including whites, agree that racism is a serious disease in our country. They also agree for the first time that police brutality and non-transparency is a disease that is out of control. I, for instance, did not know there was no tracking system, so when a bad cop gets fired, nobody knows that this person was a bad cop and they get rehired. Then they mess up and they get rehired. So you can get somebody who's been fired 11 times and there's no tracking of that. There is no tracking of bad behavior. And so that's got to go. And the latest study from Harvard University says it is very clear the police are incapable of correcting the in-house issues they've got. They're incapable. The culture is just not able to do it. Moving right along, BLM, Black Lives Matter, gets painted on a major street in the Nationals campus, the national city of ours. In Washington, D.C., Black Lives Matter, there is a big thing down one of the major streets. And in front of Trump Tower, too. I might add, in case any of you missed that. Confederate statues are now being toppled. And I don't know if you saw this on Friday, but the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States military said, "What is wrong with you people? The Confederates were traitors to the Union. This is not something to be romanticized. They were traitors, every one of them. And you don't go naming statues out of traitors. You don't go naming forts out of after the names of traitors." He said, "These are not the people to be romanticized. They caused innumerable deaths. They defended slavery. They're not the good guys." And by the way, in case anybody wants to romanticize the South, look up Andersonville, the infamous camp in which children and men died like flies because they had no medical supplies and no food. And after the camp was found and liberated at the end of the Civil War, the commandant and the people running it were all hanged for inhumanity and behavior beyond anything they'd ever seen before. Yes, that was on American soil, and good old Georgia, yes, the Pink State did that thing. And the Joint Chiefs said, "These are not people to be glorified. They're traitors and they fought for slavery. That is not to be glorified." I never thought I'd ever hear that. Moving right along, Columbus finally catches up with him too. There is this great holiday, Columbus Day. Really? Did you ever see what Columbus did in Santo Domingo? If he didn't rape the boys and girls, he brought disease. And you find that after two or three decades of the Spanish being in Santo Domingo, most of the population was dead because of the diseases they brought over. And by the way, let me make it very clear, Columbus did not discover the New World. You all know the Vikings discovered the New World back in the 900s. Hello, the Vikings. Yes, the descendants of the Vikings. Let's get that straight, folks. Yeah, you know those guys that wore the horns, you know, Valkyrie, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, they were the ones who discovered it, not Columbus, thinking he was looking for the West Indies. I mean, to the new passage to India. Miami-Dade County now has a curfew from 10 to 6. Miami-Dade County has now made masks mandatory, though you wouldn't know it in parts of the county. Starbucks, as of 3 days from now, is going to require masks in all of its stores in the United States. Bar owners in Texas have now sued the governor of Texas because they said bar lives matter too. And they are furious. Yes, I'm serious. You ought to read this. The place is gone. They are furious that Governor Abbott, who, by the way, is no flaming liberal or moderate, he's about as conservative as you're going to get, finally closed the bars down because Texas is in a pandemic hell. And bar owners were furious that he should have the audacity to close things down in a pandemic. I don't know about you, but I never understood how anybody could think keeping a bar open during a pandemic was a good move. What do you do in bars? Do you have tea? Do you sit around having soda and lime? No, you drink is what you do in bars. You drink alcohol. That's what the heck a bar is. And what happens when you drink too much alcohol? Oh yeah, hi guys, it's a hoax. This is all bull. Come over here, let me give you a hug. Lovely. Or to quote Serge Cruz, splendid. And you get all these people, oh yes, I got the Trump is here, we're all gonna love each other. And then you read what happened in Jacksonville and all over every place else. Everybody gets sick. And a lot of these people have now died. Why would you ever open a bar during a pandemic? Then let's talk about the president and his hand-picked Supreme Court that has ruled in favor of LGBTQ. Whoever believed it, with Gorsuch having written the majority opinion. That caused major heart attacks in certain parts of the country. He now has to give his tax returns to the Southern District of New York, who are waiting for him, I might add. Yes. And East Oklahoma. Have you ever heard of the country? Have you ever heard of the state of Oklahoma? I don't know if you realize this. Most of Oklahoma was taken away from the Native Americans who lived there. Tulsa was a major Native American gathering spot. The Supreme Court just ruled that East Oklahoma is in fact a nation, a First Nation. Ha! That certainly shocked the people in Oklahoma, and which, by the way, you might be interested in knowing, Oklahoma's governor and their leadership was thoroughly against expanding Medicaid. It was arranged on the latest ballot to expand Medicaid, and it passed. And the law and the thing that got voted in was written in such a way that the governor and the legislature cannot change it on their own. Finally, enough poor people got to the ballot box and voted, and they said, we need insurance. We need health care. And they voted it in. I never thought I'd see that in Oklahoma. Moving right along, did I mention Rebecca Jones? Have you ever heard of Rebecca Jones? Nice Welsh name. Rebecca Jones was fired by the governor of Florida because she kept a dashboard of all the people that were getting sick. You might want to know that until yesterday, the governor refused to give out statistics. So when she got fired, she opened up her own dashboard so you could have your daily statistics on zip code and everything else. And that's who people went to. Yesterday, his hands was finally forced by his own party. Speaking of which, let us take a look at COVID-19. Oh, I'm on a roll here. 3,247,782 people are infected in the United States of America. We are exceptional, to use that phrase. Oh, yes. 134,000 deaths, almost 135,000. And most doctors will tell you a good half of that could have been eliminated had we started early and paid attention to the warnings. In Florida, now I know that we've got some people who are visiting with us, they live outside of Florida. For those of you who are living in Florida, sweet, lovely Florida. Yes. We have 254,511 people infected with this disease. 33% of all people tested in Miami-Dade County have tested positive. That is so far off the charts, it's not even funny. And yesterday, 10,383 people were added to the infected list. 10,383 new cases in Florida yesterday. Oh, and Disney is open. While all this is going, Disney is open, but you missed it. You know, sometimes there are divine paybacks. As people were swarming into Disney, you missed this. There was music playing, and the music playing was, so you've got to listen to this, was called Welcome Home. Now, I don't know if any of you realize what that is. In evangelical Christian circles, welcome home means come to heaven. Yes, come to heaven. So they're welcoming, welcome home, come to Disney World and welcome home. Yes, we'll see you in the hereafter, like soon. Yes, and then I have one more thing before I end this marvelous list. I call this, are you ready for this? Too many children in the playpen. Do you like that? Too many children in the playpen. DeSantis is our governor. He is a Republican. Trump is a Republican. And they are having a convention, a Republican convention in Jacksonville. It turns out Trump's key person in his election in Florida was a woman. But somehow this woman disrespected our governor. So he let everybody know this week who's a Republican in Florida that he wants them to give no money to the convention in Jacksonville. Yes, you just heard that. A Republican convention in a hot spot, and the Republican governor told no Republicans in Florida to give any money to that in Jacksonville because the woman disrespected him. Number two, Jimenez is the governor of Miami-Dade County and has been changing his mind regularly. He must have mood swings. Francis Suarez, who was a student of mine, oh yes, I take no credit for this, is now the mayor of the city of Miami. These two had moments this week when Suarez called Jimenez out for his mood swings and changing things back and forth, and you should know it was quite a lovely spat. Not to be outdone by the police chief in Fort Lauderdale. The police chief in Fort Lauderdale said, nothing happened here. All those people out there, they started the mob. They started the reason we were hitting him with rubber bullets. It was their fault that we let go of tear gas. One minor problem. Those pesky reporters from the Miami Herald were taking pictures, were taking videos, and showed that everything he said was an absolute total lie. Everything. And in fact, the thing started because a cop came up and kneed a sitting protester who was minding her own business and was all caught by the Herald on film. For his macho bravado, the police chief was just fired. And the city of Fort Lauderdale is having to look about how firing the whole group because they need to start over. Too many children in the playpen. Oh, what a day. What a lovely day. Where am I going with this? It seems silly enough that it seems like sometimes old-fashioned things actually work. I know that sounds very surprising that I would say that old-fashioned things, but sometimes old-fashioned things work. Now, as I share with you some things in a minute, I would like you to learn what I'm learning. And actually, I've argued for the last several years in class. I don't know how many of you remember being in class, but things were often put on a board. It was like listed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you and I were kind of like, we had the top 3, the top 5, and things like that. And I would mention even in sermons, the top 4, things like that. The problem is that really isn't a good way to learn. I've said to my students now, if I had the money, because the school could never afford this, what I would do is I would have a several dimensional in color board in which I would have the Middle East, for instance, done topographically. So you could see where the deserts are, where the lakes are, where the fertile areas are, because if you understand where deserts are and you understand where the lakes are and you understand where the Gulf what certain Gulfs are, the Gulf of Oman and stuff like that, you can understand those in the Persian Gulf, you can understand the geography, you can really understand religion better. Then if you superimpose upon that economics, economic trade routes, then superimpose upon that different tribes, superimpose that on different religions, now you're getting a multifaceted way of looking at how it all goes together. When you have one, you put it on top of the other, and you put it on top of it, and you see it in multiple dimensions, in multiple colors, then you see how wild this is. My students just told me as we finished Summer A, your course is not just in religion. It's about tribal identity, our own DNA, geography. This is more than religion. I said, actually, they said it all goes together. We didn't realize that. So what I'm about sharing with you is when I say the following, this is not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the layers on which we need to reaffirm some things during times like this. Number 1, love. Love comes in many forms. And so when I give these, this is not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's not a prioritizing. These are all going together. You need a love of yourself that's healthy. It is my opinion, for what it's worth, too many people suffer from self-esteem issues, and usually for a variety of good reasons. You know, most people's upbringing has not always been the greatest in the world. Some people have had really good upbringing. I think of my wife, for instance. She's one of the few people I've met who's really had a terrific upbringing. A lot of people did not have a great upbringing. And so, and then there are other things that happen that are just us. And, you know, we've talked about this before. We're too tall, we're too short, we're too fat, we're too skinny, we have hair. Then do people like us? And, that's something that the people like us. And if not, why? Do we like ourselves? So when I said, do you have love? Do you have healthy self-esteem? That's important. There's that old Jewish commandment, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. And people are forgetting, if you don't love yourself, what the heck are you going to be able to do? We just saw a movie last night. What was that called? Late Night. It's a movie from a couple of years ago, and it was really good. And the leading actress was Emma Thompson. And she's a late night host, and Maria's helping me out over here. And she says, the problem I got mad at you, Molly, is I hated you because I hated myself more. And when I hate myself more, I hate everybody around me, and I do stupid things, and I fire people, and I get mad at people because I really don't like myself. I thought, there you go, right there. So when I talk about love, loving yourself is not about ego. It's about how do we have good, healthy self-esteem? Because when you love yourself better and healthier, you're able to love your partner or your spouse better. And if you're able to love your partner and spouse better, you're able to love your family better. To this day, I will never forget when Maria and I announced our engagement, her brothers came up to me, the whole bunch of them, looked like an army of the Nile, actually. She has so many brothers. And they came up to me and said, you're a member of the family now. I had no idea what that meant. No idea whatsoever. I thought this is just something you say nice, very Anglo-Saxon. Shake hands, you're a member of the family. That's it. They meant it. They meant it. No, you are a member of the family. I had no clue what that meant, but they were serious about that, and I learned very, very quickly. And I learned when her mother puts her arm around me and says, with a big love, finally, I have a son who makes me laugh. And she meant it. This was not just some polite Anglo, yes, you're a member of the family. Yeah, go sit down. The idea of family, if you have a healthy self-esteem, you love your partner, your spouse, you love your family, and you have friends. If you love yourself and you have love, you have friends. You have friends. You have friends. And let us not forget pets. You know what I think about pets. I trust pets implicitly, explicitly. You know that. And all of you have weird pets. The other day we finished All Souls. Everybody's showing pets, including turtles and cats. Dennis's cat and Donald's turtle and all kinds of dogs, and it's all over the place. When you love yourself and your partner and your family and your friends and your pets, that's almost what you need to get through. There's one other thing you need to get through times like this. You need to embrace the identical twins. Now you're saying to yourself, what is he talking about? My own opinion is that part of who we are, especially in a group like this, is we embrace the identical twins of religion and science. Religion and science, to me, are identical twins because they inform us. They have a lot in common. They're messy. They're not always exact. They're annoying. Does that sound about right? Annoying, messy, aren't always correct, but they inform us. They inform us. And they inform us about this is not a hoax. This is not stupid. What to do? They inform us. And the religion informs us about loving other people. Now, I want to say a couple of words about faith before I end. Faith, I guess you might say, is the overall blob that gets us through, but it means all of this. But unfortunately, faith is like everything else. There is a dark side and a good side. There are those people who embrace the dark. And for them, life is not healthy. They have faith in grievance. Everything is something wrong. They're mad about everything. You ever met people like that? They're always mad about something. You ask, are you all right? And they'll tell you no with footnotes. You know people like that. All right, so what you have here, you have people who embrace the dark. They embrace grievances. They have faith in grievance, faith in resentment, faith in anger, faith in it's all about me, and faith in entitlement. That is not good faith. What is the kind of faith that gets us through is the kind that is good. It enables us, when all is bad, to find the moments of joy, to find moments that bring something out when we least expect it. They're faith that can transform us when we least expect it. Look at All Souls this morning. Right here we have 25, 26 people. In the dead of summer, it's hotter than hell out. It's miserable. Everything is wrong. You saw this bloody list I had here, and here we are. What a ragtag lot we are, and here we are. A moment to embrace, a moment to transform. A moment when we take a balance of you and me, we bring it together in a healthy mix. A moment when we get out of me, myself, and I, and we look at people on this screen, and we see where we're from, and we find a moment. We listen to some reggae. We read some Talmud. We reflect and we think. We smile, we laugh. Precious moments. That's what gets us through. It links us with that which is beyond the me, myself, and I, and transforms us in special moments. So yeah, we're living in the pestilence and the apocalypse. But there is always love, always surprising moments, and faith that is good and filled with joyful surprises. Amen. Oscar, if you would. When conducting a class on Islam and talking about 5 prayers a day, I naturally had to deal with to whom or what do you pray? And I said, whether you pray to a higher power or you pray to become acquainted with the real world around you, I said, let me write something up for you that shows you how you can have thoughts for others from a non-sectarian or specific denominational point of view. And so these I wrote, and I distribute them every semester. And for those of you who wish, if you'd like to read these together with me as a way of reminding us that we are not alone, but there are people who are very much alone. For those who wish, prayers and thoughts for the poor and the unfortunate, for the sick and the suffering, for the tempted and bereaved, for the forgotten and lonely. Let us offer a prayer or a thought this day and every day. May it be so. Amen. And Oscar, if you would. When All Souls first started, we were an interesting collection of renegade Anglican Jamaicans, Christians of various sorts, and some who didn't fit in any box. But the feeling was there was a need for having communion of some type, but not the type that everybody remembered. And I said, well, why don't you go back to the beginning when they did it very simply, just simple bread and cup as a fellowship meal. Even Paul talks about that as an agape meal, and not all of the other stuff that went with it. They said, can we do that? I said, of course we can. Over a period of time, we have had join, which really makes All Souls, atheists, humanists of all kind, agnostics of all, just about everybody, which means it is all souls for all souls. And still we keep, for those for whom it is important, a sense of bread. In our case, we use this not as a Roman Catholic host, but a simple unleavened bread. And we had a simple plate made of, as you can see, very, very inexpensive, because that's what they had back then, very inexpensive ceramic. Let me remind everybody, when Jesus had the Last Supper, number one, they didn't know it was going to be the Last Supper. Number two, he went to an inn because he was very poor. And when they went to a poor inn, they did not have sterling silver and gold chalices and patens and everything else. They had stuff that was really poor. And probably they had wooden bowls and wooden goblets. We have very, very simple ceramic plate and cup and bread. Following an ancient custom, to those you welcome, and Jesus did this throughout his ministry, breaking bread and offering it to those as an act of fellowship. They had watered down wine, and you would take wine in a common cup, and at All Souls we would have people come up, dip bread into the cup, and partake. And then we would have, for everybody there, a moment in which everybody would come up and hold hands. The fellowship meal is a unity, not a disunity. So whether you partake or not, everybody is in a sense at the table. Not everybody, when you eat, is hungry, as you well know, but you're still at the table. So we would hold hands and we would repeat. And I ask you to repeat this today like we've done for so many years. If you repeat after me, promise me you'll remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem,
Stronger than you seem,
smarter than you think.
smarter than you think.
God didn't promise
I didn't promise
days without pain,
days without
pain,
laughter without sorrows,
laughter without sorrow,
sun without rain.
sun without rain.
But the divine did promise
But the
Divine
divine
did
promise.
promise
strength for the day,
strength for the
Today,
comfort for the tears,
comfort
for the
tears,
and light for the way.
and light
light for the way.
before we would leave, we have this ritual. And for those of you who are visiting with us for the first time, I don't know begin how to explain this, except if you've ever been to NA or AA, you get this. We honestly did not borrow this. We stole it. It's terrible. The black chip. Yes, everybody, your black chip. Now, some of you have really gotten out of this. You have forgotten how to do this. If you want a black chip, you email me and we will send you some. Judy has done a fabulous job sending out birthday cards to everybody. We'll send out black chips to you. The black chip is to remind you if you're going to leave here and you're ticked off about something, you got to work on it. So people would come up and pick up a black chip, or they would put them back. Through the years, I am glad to announce we have been through so many of these. We've been through boxes. This is a kind of reminder, folks, that we're all in this together. Unless any of you who are visiting think that somehow I am immune, some of you will remember the Christmas that I picked up 4 of these. And I think Serge said, as I picked up the 4th one, he said, Reverend. And I said, Serge, shut up. And there we were, all in this together. So if anybody has something that's bothering them, pick up your chip, own it up to us, and remember we've got to work on it. A final prayer before our closing benediction. May the blessings of God be upon us in this hour and in the days to come, that we may seek the truth more devotedly, that we may think more independently, that we may reflect more searchingly. May we know ourselves more completely, that we may forgive more quickly, we may pray more thoughtfully, we may act more courageously, we may live more nobly. The final blessing, those who are with me in Port Orange will remember this, except I have learned from our Hindu brethren and Hindu religion, and so I have changed the ending just a little bit. Now may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall softly upon your fields. And when we meet again, may the divine in me greet the divine in you. Amen.
Amen.
We want to thank you all for joining with us today. You are always welcome. You are always, always welcome. And